I've just come back from holiday in Italy, and at London's Gatwick Airport I picked up the paperback version of Steven Pinker's The Stuff of Thought. It's a really fascinating insight into words and grammar and what really lies behind the meaning of those words. For instance, words tell us about space and time and our social relationships as well. And I was reading this by the pool in the sunshine, and although it was really fascinating, it was just a bit too much like work for me. It really made me think about my job as an editor and the words that I use, and because it was too much like work and I was on holiday, I ended up giving up on it and switched to a novel instead. Sorry, Stephen.
When I travel and I'm in one place, I actually like to read a book about a different place. Something about being on the road enhances the feeling of otherness when I'm immersing myself to another place. So a recent favorite for me was a book called Faust in Copenhagen by Gino Segre. It's about the great physicists of the 20th century meeting in Copenhagen once a year to discuss progress on quantum mechanics, which is transforming our concept of physics and our relationship to reality. And as kind of a diversion for themselves, they would put on these farces, these plays, these parodies. And in 1932, the parody they chose was of Goethe's Faust. And it was a farce with, as it turns out, a lot of subtle meaning and foreshadowing of what was to come. Of course, not long after, the European world that these men knew completely changed, and many of them would be making Faustian bargains, working on atomic bombs, and so on. Now, this is a well-told story, well-known story that's been documented in many books by many science historians. Something about the way Segre delves into it, especially through this amateur play, just gave the whole story a new, fresh appeal to me.
Well, I'm off to China this year, and the book that I'm taking with me is called Foreign Devils on the Silk Road, and it's about the amazing exploits of a group of archaeologists and explorers who attempted to remove the great archaeological treasures from the Central Asian deserts at the turn of the 19th and 20th century, and the amazing stories that happened to them, like crawling through the desert, having lost all their water, cutting frescoes out of 2,000-year-old monasteries and taking them back to the British Museum, and of course about the Chinese anger at the theft, as they see it, of all these works of art. I'm told it's an extraordinary tale, and so I'm very much looking forward to that.
The book I'm thinking of taking on holiday is The Coldest March by Susan Solomon, which is about Captain Scott's exploits in the Antarctic. Now, Scott's been seen as a bit of a buffoon of the British Empire in later days because he led his men to death in really cold conditions. Now, Solomon's work, along with other books around at the moment, actually attempts to disprove what she believes to be a myth. She thinks that looking at the weather records, which Scott recorded in his diary, but because we didn't have satellites at the time, we couldn't actually say so ourselves. Maybe he was an idiot. Maybe he was just saying it was absolutely dreadful. Well, it really was dreadful, apparently. And the book works on two levels, the title of the book, because it's called The Coldest March, because he dragged his sledges to the pole and back from the pole. But not only that, of course, it was the month of March when he died. And she's saying that those conditions in that month of March were probably the worst that have ever been experienced in Antarctica. Looking back at records, taking ice cores and various readings that she can gain, that we can see now, which people weren't able to visualise at the time. So maybe Scott's reputation is being restored a little bit now. Part of the reason I'm taking this book is that I was always a big fan of the story when I was younger, and secondly, it's a great book to take when you're going somewhere hot, because it kind of chills you down. You're thinking about something else. You're seeing another story, but also it's a great adventure story as well.